Good morning. So first off, just to let folks know who you are, you're Wes Carter, president of Atlantic Packaging. And
yes, sir, that is correct.
All right. And one of the things that always strikes me as crucial in these conversations is a sense, and to be clear, this is a conversation about what industry can do to have a positive impact on our environment now and, you know, hopefully for the long term. How much plastic, man-made material is out there? I just want to get a sense of scale. And the thing that you work on the most is not the stuff that's obvious to us. It's not the stuff that we consumers use on a daily basis, like plastic bottles of soda. These are business to business for the most part transactions. So how much stuff is out there?
Plastic is ubiquitous throughout our culture. I mean, that's undeniable. And in the world of packaging where I live, plastic is a critical component to getting goods from one place to the other. To your point, we operate in multiple areas of the supply chain. Traditionally, Atlantic's business has been selling packaging more between businesses, business to business packaging as we call it, or logistical packaging, which is primarily shipping unit loads of goods. And there's a lot of plastic that is used, real technical plastic that is used in those applications. But with the advent of e-commerce and the evolution of e-commerce, we are selling more and more packaging into the direct-to-consumer parcel type packaging or protective packaging. And in that space, there's been a lot of plastic packaging as well, real common items like bubble wrap and foam and air pillows. And so we're a very diverse company. We've been in business over 75 years. And so we operate in all those different areas of the supply chain and in many, many different industry verticals. And so to answer your question about how much plastic is out there, I don't know that I can give you an accurate number as to how much plastic is out there, but what I can tell you is the number that concerns me is the estimates are that, globally, humans put about 10 million tons of plastic into the oceans every year. And at the rate we're going, by the year 2040, that number will be 29 million tons annually, every single year. So I think a lot of folks out there in the world feel like, oh, we're transitioning away from plastic and it's got to be getting better. But the reality is, plastic is still pretty new for our culture. I mean, and really the proliferation of single-use plastic didn't really happen until the late 90s and the 2000s. And so this is a relatively new problem, and it is growing exponentially. And it's why I feel like the private sector, the packaging supply chain in particular, plays a pivotal role in correcting this problem. And the first thing we have to do is acknowledge that there is one.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking the other day, when I was a kid, if there was ever bubble wrap in the house, it was like this, it was like Christmas. It was all exciting. We got to pop bubbles. But now I have bubble wrap in the house coming in every single day. Like I would guess most people, I've suddenly have this big problem in my life, which is not just the box that all my Amazon and other shipped to my house stuff comes in, but all the plastic pillows, all that stuff, getting it sorted in the house, getting it out of the house. And I was thinking, my son, who's 10, he just finds bubble wrap boring because it's just been ubiquitous throughout his life. It's just always there. And in fact, kids today, they have very strong opinions about which type of bubble wrap they want to play with. And that was just a model of how I think most people at a conference like Sea Change know there's a major plastics in the ocean problem, but talking to you has really made me realize it's a new problem, but we're barely beginning. I mean, if you're talking about over the next 20 years, we're going to triple the added amount each year, and we've only been pouring that much in for 20 years. This today, right now, is the low point. It's a blessedly low point of plastics in the ocean. So.
Yeah, I mean that's the part that concerns me. I mean, right now the problem is pretty evident, especially if you travel to a lot of third world countries that don't have the waste infrastructure that we have. But with the rate of growth of this problem, my fear is that, my 8-year-old twins, when, they're my age, the problem will be prolific and it will be everywhere and undeniable. And that really, really concerns me. And I feel like that our organization is in a place to contribute to solutions.
So let's get into that, because actually maybe more than other sessions at Sea Change, this one ends with a specific call to action for people who are in a position to take action, which is, hey, there's some new products available. So walk us through, and you have a huge range of products, but I think really the specific solution you've focused on that's relevant to this conference is packaging for sports goods, for outdoor enthusiasts. Walk me through how you identified that as a potential and what the range of products are.
Sure. So as I mentioned before, we do operate in different areas of the supply chain, but and sustainability in packaging has been around for a while. I mean, Walmart came out with their Walmart scorecard, 12 or 15 years ago. So sustainability has been a buzzword in our industry for a long time. But over the last 4 or 5 years, for me personally and our organization, we woke up to the fact that, as a large packaging company, we really have the ability not only to advocate for sustainable packaging, but more than that, we can actually facilitate the transition from problematic packaging to more sustainable packaging because we have the platform and we have the customers. And so one area that we identified, because again, you hear a lot out there in the world, oh, all plastics are bad, and I do not agree with that. I mean, there are a lot of plastics that are incredibly efficient. There's plastic on automobiles that make automobiles a lot more gas efficient, as an example, or airplanes. There's a lot of areas in our world where plastics are necessary and actually preferable. The area where we've identified the big problem, though, is in single-use products, and they're prolific. They're everywhere, and so, as we look at our industry, the protective packaging segment, which is parcel packaging, we also have to acknowledge that if packaging ends up in the hands of a consumer at your house or my house, the likelihood that it ends up in the environment is just way higher. Packaging that is being utilized between businesses, a lot of that ends up in landfills, but there's not as much leakage because you can create inherent closed loops between businesses. But when you get out into the consumer world, if it ends up at your house or my house, the likelihood that it blows out of a trash can, blows out of a car, blows out of a boat, it's just there. So we determined that was the area of the supply chain that we really needed to focus on. Sustainable packaging, fiber-based packaging, products that if they do end up in the environment will break down in a reasonable amount of time, and also products that are curbside recyclable. A lot of people don't realize in the United States, we only recycle about 9% of the plastic that we create. And we recycle over 50% of the paper products that we create. So this country does paper really well, paper recycling. There's so many corrugated boxes that are in circulation. So we're set up really well for that. Fiber-based products are made from a renewable resource. They're very recyclable at the curbside, which is a big point. And if they end up in the environment, in most situations, they're going to break down in, 10, 12, 14 weeks. So that is really the area that we have identified that we needed to do the most innovating and deliver those products to the consumer products, companies, well-vetted, functional products. So that's the first part of the question that you asked.
Let's get into the stuff, because you actually, I feel like you're underselling. Like you for this crowd, you have some actual specific products.
Okay, so we identify the outdoor space as the incredibly logical place to go sustainable. The outdoor space, more than any other, the backdrop for the outdoor industry is the outdoors. And so if you're in that industry, you are inherently passionate about clean environment and about outdoor spaces. And so we really believe that packaging today is a brand attribute. And we believe that the outdoor space must.
I'd like to take over as Vice President of Sales for Atlantic Packaging. You don't have to convince this audience. This is Sea Change. They're in. Everything you've said, they know. What have you got for them?
Okay, so we have a packaging solution center in Charlotte, North Carolina, where we do tremendous amounts of packaging optimization. And we've started an initiative last year called a New Earth Project. And a New Earth Project is an initiative to inspire the supply chain, specifically the outdoor industry, to embrace sustainable packaging. We have launched a group of products called New Earth Approved Packaging products that meet all the criteria that we've identified for sustainability. And many of those are common products that any brand could buy, like curbside recyclable mailers, mailers for apparel, protective mailers for hard goods. We've also created custom packaging items like you see behind me. We're calling this the S3 Pro, which is the sustainable surfboard shipping system. And what we did is we took traditional surfboard that's wrapped in bubble and foam and kind of a nightmare from an environmental perspective, and we reinvented what a sustainable surfboard pack would look like. And this is a product that is called SUS Wrap. It stands for suspension wrap. And so now a surfboard manufacturer, a shaper, can pack a surfboard in a 100% fiber-based that's all curbside recyclable and all made from renewable resources. So we've done that in a lot of other areas as well. We've introduced mushroom packaging. So there's some really, really cool innovations in that space as well, where we actually are growing a foam replacement for mushrooms. And we work with a company called Ecovative that has pioneered that technology. We recently created some foam packaging for surfboard fins. So again, we also have a product called Giami that is a replacement for bubble wrap that is kind of an accordion like paper product that you can wrap around products for cushioning. Just when it comes to protective packaging for shipping really anything, whether it be in a box or in a mailing system, we have a solution for that. What we've tried to do is create a platform of, non-custom packaging that any brand can buy, because what you don't want to do is for every single product that you buy have custom packaging. It's way too cumbersome. It's way too expensive. So what we've tried to do is say, all right, for 80% of applications, here are common fiber-based, sophisticated, not only packaging material, but also equipment that helps you pack boxes more efficiently, products that all run through equipment and really help these companies be more efficient in their packaging as well. And so we have that whole group of products. But then when you do have products that are odd shaped, that also are high value, like a surfboard. These are expensive products that, something like that warrants a custom packaging solution potentially. So what we've asked, these brands to do is send us products, send us a surfboard, and we've had many major surfboard companies that have sent us boards and said, innovate this for us. We have a single board pack, and we've also got a pack for 5 boards because they're not most of the surfboard manufacturers are shipping 5 and 10 boards to surf shops, and so this would not be a solution for that. We have a different solution for that. So our solution center in Charlotte, North Carolina, is the most sophisticated packaging testing facility in the world. And we challenge brands, if you have a product, they're like, hey, we want a custom packaging solution for this, send it to us. We'll document the whole thing. We do a whole unboxing where we film, hey, this is how it's being done today. We interview the customer to say, are you having damage? Are there issues with the shipping process? Is it slow? And so we look at it very holistically and then come up with a turnkey solution that addresses all of the challenges that they're trying to overcome, as well as always giving them solutions that are fully sustainable. And again, when we say sustainable, we define sustainable as packaging that's made from renewable resources, packaging that is curbside recyclable, and packaging that if it does end up in the environment breaks down completely within 6 months. And my goal over the next few years is hopefully the entire outdoor industry will embrace sustainable packaging as the ethos of this industry and lead. And then we use social media and other forms of media to tell these stories of transition. This is where we were and this is where we're going. And those stories will inspire the greater supply chain. My goal with the New Earth Project is for the outdoor industry to lead the entire supply chain, influence food companies and beverage companies and building products companies. Everyone across the supply chain will be able to look to the outdoor industry as the leaders in doing this.
So I'm sort of inherent. I'm a business and economics reporter, and that comes with sort of a lot of cynicism, or just a lot of skepticism. So I want to talk a little bit about that. First off, what are the costs? Because to my mind, sure, I don't think it's a hard sell if I'm buying a several $100 surfboard or a several $1,000 bicycle or whatever. Presumably, I care about the environment. You and I talked before this conference about how this is both this is kind of a blue state, red state issue because the hunting community and it's not just kind of hippies in Vermont. It's a lot of people in this country care, but and if it costs a few bucks more or a few cents more for a company to package responsibly and sustainably at the high end of the outdoor sports, I do wonder how applicable that is to, I have to assume, the vast majority of unsustainable plastics in our supply chain are, the mass-produced, fast-moving consumer packaged goods that you really do have to, it has to be economical, and that's a world where fractions of a penny are the difference between profitability and bankruptcy. So how extensible is this?
The reality is if it is not cost effective, it's not very sustainable. We can't always provide solutions that no one's going to implement. I mean, if we're not acknowledging that they have to be reasonably priced, then they're not real solutions. They're just, ideas that'll never come to fruition. So we work really, really diligently to acknowledge that we have to find solutions that are cost effective. Now, we do a lot of what I call packaging optimization. So when we're analyzing, we're looking to right size packaging too. And what we see with a lot of brands, whether it be outdoor or anywhere else, they're over packaging because they don't have the support of a packaging company like Atlantic to help them do that. So whereas if we're getting rid of like a single-use plastic like an air pillow and going to a fiber-based solution, there could be a slight cost impact, but we're looking to offset that by right-sizing the packaging or other areas where maybe we can speed up the operation because we're going to make it more efficient. You have to look at these things from a total cost perspective. So that is absolutely a reality, and you make a really good point. And we're working on that all the time. So we are incredibly transparent about all that. But I'm going to say this too. The bigger question I would ask the brands is, what is the cost to your brand by not doing this? How long can you continue to ship products to outdoor enthusiasts that are wrapped in products that are an environmental problem? At some point, you have to acknowledge that the packaging around my product says a lot about the ethics of my organization. And to me, there is a tremendous cost to not doing this now, but into the future. Today, 18 to 34-year-olds have more buying power than the baby boomers, and that group values sustainability by 80% in recent surveys. That is a huge demographic, and that is a huge percentage of those people that say, we value this in the products and the packaging that we purchase. So that, to me, is the biggest differentiator.
Yes, so to me, and it'll be interesting to hear what folks at the conference say, but for the outdoor industry, it seems like a no-brainer to me. Like even if you were lying, which I'm not saying you're not lying, but just the experience of opening something that's made of fiber is just going to feel more sustainable. Maybe 10 years ago, before there was the same consciousness, it would have felt cheap or unsophisticated or something, but now I think the market is there in outdoor. I would think so. My question is the extension. How do we get, does Procter & Gamble start taking this seriously?
I can tell you that, we work with many, many major consumer products companies P&G being one in particular. We work with a lot of brands from major beer companies, major soft drink companies. I don't want to name too many names, but companies that everyone watching this knows very, very well. Every single one of those companies is doing deep evaluations on all of their packaging. I know of multiple major beverage companies that have made commitments to be 100% plastic free by 2025 or 2030. These large organizations, their marketing departments understand consumer demand. They understand that. And so the energy coming out of COVID, where all organizations and people working in those organizations want to be better stewards of the world and the environment. I think COVID, that was a bit of a silver lining. People are energized to be better stewards of the planet. But on top of that, better stewards of the planet. But on top of that, you do also have a tremendous energy of shift just based on consumer demand, just based on the fact that the younger consumers are getting older, and these younger folks in that 18 to 34-year-old category are demanding sustainable solutions.
Right. And it was, I don't mean this to be cute, it was a crash course in packaging. I think all of us were confronted with the nature of packaging, the volume of packaging, in a way those of us who aren't you, we never thought about packaging before. But it became a major part of my life. Is where do I put it in the house when it's not trash pickup day? How do I sort it? Where do I put it? And I think we all went through that, and we all went through the experience of having some giant box from Amazon, and there's a tiny little box in there with 100 air pillows, and thinking, why did they do it that way? It doesn't make any sense. So I do think the moment is clearly right.
I would like to make one point about that, because I think about this a lot. I think the phenomenon of a global pandemic that put everybody at home for 2 years, on top of being at a point in the evolution of e-commerce where you could order anything and everything from your phone, that intersection created this enormous amount of packaging going to everyone's houses that I'm not sure any other circumstances globally that could have happened. I mean, if the pandemic is 10 years ago, that doesn't happen. And so it had to be a pandemic. I mean, a war wouldn't have done it. A natural disaster wouldn't have done it. Only a pandemic at this exact time creates that phenomenon. And so I think that's a really interesting thing to evaluate as a great catalyst for awareness around packaging and the problems of packaging and the problems of global plastic pollution. And so, whether it be plastic treaties that are being negotiated right now, or recycling infrastructure that everyone's asking questions about, or, packaging like we're talking about right now, I mean, the awareness and the energy around this, I have never seen it in my entire career. And so I do think there is something significant that is transpiring right now that is asking us to respond.
So I do want you to persuade me a little bit more, because I don't know that I'm fully sold. So if our fear is in 20 years from now, 18 years from now, there's 3 times as much plastic going into the ocean. What is the outdoor industry? That's got to be a fraction of a % of the plastic that's heading, the single-use plastics that could be heading in that stream. What is reasonable to hope that we bend that curve? What is a reasonable pathway? Could we reduce the amount of plastic that goes in the ocean? Are we just trying to reduce the growth so it'll be more, but not as much more?
Perfect is the enemy of good, and we have to start somewhere. And, you're right. If the entire outdoor industry transitions to sustainable packaging, is that going to have a huge impact globally in and of itself? Maybe you could argue it won't, but what it can do is really inspire the greater supply chain. I think the outdoor industry has to commit that we are going to lead these efforts. We are going to be the example. We absolutely should be. I mean, I think if you look at brands like Patagonia, this is exactly what they have done. is, as leaders in this space, we are going to be the example, and we are going to inspire the greater supply chain. Because when you look at the Coca-Colas and the Anheuser-Busch's and the Procter, all of these other large brands, they look to the outdoor industry now. I mean, the outdoor industry is intimately engaged with a lot of these big organizations for marketing and sponsorships and everything else. And so the entire supply chain is intimately interlocked. And as again, as the outdoor industry makes these shifts, they need to be celebrated. We need to tell these stories. We need to tell these stories, and it needs to be exciting, and it needs to engage young people. It needs to be celebrated. And I do believe that can have a huge impact, because if you can change the behaviors of 10 or 15 of the world's major consumer products companies, you can have a huge impact. And that was a big moment for me. I mean, when I began this journey, I equate it to having an awakening. I mean, when I saw that where we sit in the supply chain, if we advocate for this, create solutions, and help companies transition, we can have a global impact because of the type of companies that we do business with. And I'm asking for the outdoor industry to be partners with Atlantic in that effort.
Yeah, I mean, to me, again, that feels. So can we talk just a little bit about cost? My understanding is that if we ignore environmental impact for a second, not that we want to, plastic has unique features. It just is going to, if you want something that's both super lightweight and super rigid and able to take on all sorts of different forms, and you want to be able to have all sorts of options about color and shape and thickness and all of that, there really is no second best. Plastic is unique for all of those features. And add to it, it's really, really cheap. So my assumption is sustainable solutions are always going to be, from a performance standpoint, there's always going to be a plastic or foam solution that can do the functional activity better and cheaper.
The reason that plastic packaging and plastic in general is so ubiquitous in our society is because it is so functional, so customizable, and really inexpensive. I mean, the reason single-use plastic is everywhere is because it's really cheap. So if you're going to give hey, this is a great sustainable solution, but it's triple the cost, well, no one's going to invest in it, so you're not solving any problems.
Right. I remember these economists did a survey where they asked people, how much would you pay for something made in America? And the typical answer was, oh, I'd pay double. But then when they did the actual market research and stood outside of a Walmart and looked at what people bought, they would not pay a single penny more for made in America. People, and probably the kind of people who buy stuff from the kind of people who go to Sea Change, would actually pay 20% more for a more sustainable product. But the average consumer, and the vast majority of goods, that number has to disappear. Now, I would think some of that is offset in effect in marketing, right? I've had in my mind, I remember visiting the cotton industry headquarters in North Carolina, and they have this giant wall that's the chart of percentage of American apparel that's made with cotton. And they talk about the 1970s as this incredibly dark period because it's the first and only time when man-made fibers totally went way beyond cotton. And they had to really transition from cotton just being obviously what clothes are made of to they were in a fight. They were losing. And I'd say, and then cotton then won again and has stayed dominant. And it is interesting because part of it was science and tech. They had to come up with all sorts of performance cotton, which probably a lot of people at Sea Change know about. And there are outdoor apparel that should not be made of cotton. We all know cotton kills and all of that. But so part of it was tech and science, but part of it also was kind of consumer. It's hard for us today to remember, but wearing a nylon shirt, a polyester shirt, was kind of cool in the 70s. And now it has all sorts of associations that most people maybe would prefer not to have. So I thought of that as a possible model, that you really have to hit this issue from multiple channels. I 100% agree that at base it's an economic decision. And so you really need to get the price delta between sustainable and non-sustainable as low as possible. You also need a lot of tech, because I want to know that you're actually going to provide me a sustainable solution that is a solution and doesn't add problems. But then I think the cultural awareness, now I got some cousins and stuff I'm thinking of. I don't know if they're ever going to care what their packaging comes from. But if, I would think once you get to, say, 20% of the population caring, certainly 30%, it starts becoming economical to just turn the whole supply chain over.
And I think that's where we're headed. I've met with some very major brands. Just last week, I was meeting with a major homeware brand that everybody would know. And in that meeting, they said, Wes, we want you to transition every single product we have to sustainable packaging, and we want it done by the end of the second quarter, so we're ready for peak. And there's a cost impact, to do that, of 15 to 20%, depending on what the product is. But again, this is coming from their marketing department that's saying we are no longer going to ship products to our customers with environmentally unfriendly, problematic packaging, because it doesn't reflect the values of our brand. It doesn't reflect the values of who we are as an organization.
So April 22nd, Earth Day, you're going fully live and people can order, but you said that folks at Sea Change, if they can't wait till April 22nd, what should they do?
We're working with a lot of brands now. We've, obviously, we've been doing this for a while now, and we're very engaged with a lot of brands in the outdoor space. And so we can begin those projects at any time. One of the things we're doing with the website, and traditionally we don't sell a lot of packaging over the web. Traditionally you would, set up an account with Atlantic and have terms and things like that. One of the things we wanted to do for the outdoor brands is have a very sophisticated Shopify website where brands of any size and scale could get the benefits of the buying power of Atlantic. So we're buying packaging in tremendous volumes. We carry it in warehouses all over the country, and we want to give even the medium to small brands the same access to that buying power and make it easy. So they can just log onto the website. They're going to see 40 or 50 different sustainable packaging items, from bracing and blocking to mailers to carton sealing tape, all the different things that they would need that are available in that catalog that they can buy with a credit card and get it shipped directly to their business. So that will launch on Earth Day. And then again, if people are ready to start projects now, they can reach me, Wes C at AtlanticPKG.com. My director of a New Earth project is a gentleman named Don Meek, who I think is probably in the audience, and he is D Meek at anewearthproject.com. And Don is really spearheading a lot of the front end sales with these outdoor brands. But we are fired up to receive products from these brands, come up with custom packaging solutions. And the one you see behind me, we dreamed that up 6 months ago, and now we're implementing it with several large surfboard companies. So we have fun with it. We really love to come up with creative solutions, and then also having a full platform of packaging items that are more common to any brand is available as well.
Well, I have to say, as a business reporter, I like to not believe what business people are telling me, but I feel like and I do think greenwashing is a real concern, that there are programs where a corporation will say, hey, look at what we're doing, but you look deeper into it and it's $40,000 worth of change, and they spend $400,000 marketing the $40,000 worth of change. But to me, this is just an obvious no-brainer that the outdoor industry right now, the thing that's needed, well, it would be great if all the major companies in the world just immediately switched to sustainability. But having that kind of peer pressure, and I, there's a bunch of things I love about it going through the outdoor industry. One of which is it really is blue state, red state, and at this time, when things are so contentious, so divisive, that I think is a powerful component. And then it makes it just seem like cool. And I like the idea that 5 years from now, you open a package and there's plastic packaging and you're just like, oh, what a lame company. They must be really cheap and unsophisticated that they would even think to use plastic. It's such a, it's like, a big wide lapel polyester shirt or something.
Well, and I will, to everyone listening out there, understand that, we are a packaging distributor and consulting company. So I don't make packaging. We're out there working with all of the major manufacturers of packaging in the world. And we are choosing and selecting the items that we believe are the most sustainable. I don't have a motivation to greenwash. We say all the time, we're the arbiters of truth. My whole value proposition to the supply chain is being the vetting process. Because of where we sit in the middle between the manufacturers of packaging and the users of packaging, I inherently have the ability to be really impartial. And so all of the information about why we support the types of products that we support are on our website at newearthproject.com. And I welcome challenges. This is an ever evolving marketplace. And if there's folks out there that say, hey, we don't necessarily agree with what you're supporting here or this product or that product, let's have that conversation. We don't profess to know everything. We've been in this business a long time. We're deeply entrenched in it, but it's an ever-evolving marketplace. One of the beautiful things about what's going on right now that I think brands can be really encouraged by is because of the energy of sustainability and this energy coming out of COVID where brands want to embrace this, the innovation that is happening in packaging is unparalleled. I've been doing this 25 years now. I have never seen more innovation going on in packaging. And so new solutions, new fiber-based solutions are coming to the forefront every single week, it feels like. And so it's a really exciting time to be in this industry. And as I mentioned before, we're a lot of new solutions like, growing packaging from mushroom spores and things like that, a few years ago would have sounded, out of this world. And now they're a reality. So just a really fun time to be in this industry. And we want to collaborate with the outdoor space and hope to inspire people, inspire young people, and inspire the greater supply chain, because I truly believe if we all join together and say we're going to do this, that we can have a major impact on global plastic pollution. And again, Atlantic doesn't have to do this, but I'm a passionate outdoor person. I'm an offshore fisherman. I'm a surfer. I'm a snowboarder. I'm a skier. I'm a rock climber. I'm a hiker. I'm a backpacker. It has been the thing that has given me more joy in my life. And I'm raising 2 young kids in the outdoors, and I want to be a part of the solution. I want to work with the supply chain to help preserve wild places for future generations. And to me, this could be our moon landing. This could, if our generation can come together and collaborate and solve this problem, it will be a legacy that will echo for generations and generations. And I think we fully have the ability to do it.
Great. Thanks so much, Wes. When you said far out uses of mushrooms, I was like, that we're here in Vermont. I think there's a lot of people who've used far out uses of mushrooms here for a very long time. So that'll echo.
Right on.
Yeah.
I got the right audience.
Yeah. Great. Thank you so much, Wes.